All right, let's get it started. Ladies and gentlemen, I am so excited for our third-time repeat guest from the show The Bachelor, one of our favorites. It's Courtney Robertson, everybody.
Hi.
How are you?
Hope I'm a favorite. I'm so excited to be in your pod.
By the way, cheers to our first parents episode. You've been a parent, but I've entered the arena.
Welcome to the fun.
Yeah, our voices. This is we are recording live from Las Vegas. It's been a couple days.
Yeah.
Yeah,
How do you feel? I feel like I've been shot out of a cannon.
Well, we were at Reality Steve's
fan
appreciation night, which, to be quite honest, I felt more. It felt like the energy, like your wedding night, where you have to talk to everybody. Mm-hmm. So as much as I enjoy talking to everybody, I'm gone, just gone. I mean, you gotta do the dance, right? You got these people pay the bills.
Yes, exactly. And it was we were here last year, so much can happen in a year. And I love your messaging on your podcast. Like, you have a baby now. Like, last year we were here and you didn't have a baby.
Nor were we even trying, yeah.
Right, and now you have a baby. Like, look how much can change in a year.
Is it crazy to think we only met a year ago?
Yeah, it is.
That's a pretty good year for the Courtney and Dave.
Yeah, I had a baby and you had a baby.
You've had baby number 3.
You get a baby.
Everyone, look under your chair. That's a baby. So,
and that changes things so much. It puts things into perspective, especially when you're in Vegas and like you get to let your hair down and
that's what's funny with Reality Steve, right? He has friends that are in their 50s, and then there's like 20-year-olds, and it's like we're all humans, but we're all in different stages.
Absolutely.
You know,
it's like so fun to like meet people, and it just changes. It was like everybody was so lovely, but like, you know, I only have so much gas in the tank right now because I'm still postpartum, and I miss Tasha being there. Like,
I know.
I would have loved to have her at the cabana today, but maybe next year. And like, who knows where we're at in a year from now.
Yeah. So when I interviewed you last, it was end of March. You were getting there. You were getting ready for the baby. Now we're a month and change post baby. So tell us all where you're at, how you feeling, and all that.
I've definitely had like a lot of postpartum symptoms this time around. I'm 40 now, so this pregnancy was a lot harder on my body. Like I said, today, like this Vegas trip was like much easier last year. I was looking at videos from last year, and my husband and I were like having a sexy trip. Like, we treated it as like a parent's getaway, and like to where we're at now, I'm like still trying to lose the baby weight, and but he's amazing, and I wouldn't change it for the world. But all those things that people say, but it's been like a transition for sure.
What has changed from a first-time mom to a third time as far as fears? Because we're obviously dealing with a lot of fears.
Yes.
As new parents.
That doesn't go away. Okay. It's like you feel like your heart's like walking outside of your chest. Like, once you bring a baby into the world, it's like meant to be, right? Like, but for me, I feel like your mortality and taking care of yourself and like coming here and like the flight. And I remember when my husband and I took our first flight together, I was like, we need a godmother or godfather. Like, what if the plane goes down? Like, and those are like the postpartum like symptoms. Like, you have to like think of this other person now.
So is postpartum, now obviously there's a crazy amount of dopamine and all the hormones from the birth. Are you able to go, all right, usually at the 4 weeks I feel this way, or the intrusive thoughts? There's obviously a lot that comes with
am I going to fall down the stairs? Can I take a shower? Like, these things, like, it's just like, it happens, and you think you beat it, and then, I mean, it's real. Like, it's a real thing, and like, I can't give a certain timeline. For me, like, I had postpartum anxiety. I had postpartum. Now I'm dealing with like OCD, like cleaning. Like, I call it stress cleaning. And it's like a control thing. And I know that, like, I'm very tapped into it. But like, at some point I was like, okay, I need to probably start taking some medicine, because this is like, you know, I need it.
Well, you know, I mean, our audience is mainly all women, and I think it's an important conversation to have about how the body reacts to such a change in your life, even if you've already got kids. So what does Umberto do to help with that, and kind of like any advice for the male support system?
Yeah. Absolutely. I do. My husband is, I think it's communication. And I think now that we have 3, like I just like kind of laid into the other. I'm like, we need to communicate tomorrow. I felt crazy all day. I had a tough day with the kids and I was like, I'm sorry. Like we just need to communicate more. Like, I'm like, he was coming home from work. I was like, I need to toss the baton to you. Like I need a break. And I think it's easy to like want to be the hero and like be like, I got this. And then like, you're like, I need help. Like, but we have open communication for sure. But like, I mean, he like takes the kids out for a little bit just so I can get a break here. Or, like he knows I need my showers in the morning, little things like that like he knows about me, like pre-kids.
Yeah, it seemed like I feel in some ways helpless because she's breastfeeding, and I mean, sure, I can do some dishes and burp the baby, but
I would say a shower is everything. Give her.
Oh yeah.
Make sure she gets her shower. Like it's like a good way to like I need one every morning
but I heard that was something that a lot of times moms will not do even if they do have the free time. So I've had to be like, honey, I got him, we're good, go get out of here, we're gonna go on a walk, we're gonna go do this, and I put the baby in the pouch or whatever. But it's like so minimal, the simple things, but obviously a shower, fresh water, just stays,
and it's hydrating up. And like I meditate in the shower, like ideas come to me, like it's like walking, like take the baby for a walk, like and give her that, because when the baby cries, I will say like when he, like if I'm in the shower and I hear the baby crying, I'm like, oh my God, like my soul hurts. Like there's like something ingrained into you that it's like, I need to go take care of my baby.
Oh, sure. And it seems like it's such a easy, like the easiest fix for whenever, you're feeling overwhelmed is sleep. Now, obviously if you're a young parent, you don't get much, but that's how cults control people. That's how the Bachelor controls people. It's like cut out people's sleep, get them to do weird things.
Well, sleep torture is a real form of torture.
Yeah.
It really is. And like, I would say if you do communicate, like when we had our first fight with Joaquin, like we were sleep deprived and like we yard sailed into like, it was like one little thing that set us off. And then we weren't communicating. And then I was like, well, then this happened, and my doctor told me, he was like, Courtney, like the best advice I could give you is like stay on topic, like don't bring up the thing that happened 2 weeks ago. Yeah, you know what I mean. I think it goes back to communication, right? But like being able to communicate with your partner. But I'm not even good at that. Like it's easier said than done.
I was gonna say, how were you with exes? Were you like, does he calm you down, or
I like to sweep it under the rug, but then it builds up, and I think that you hear that with a lot of parents, like. There's resentment that builds up and you can just sweep it under. It's easy to like, okay, like we have to do this. We have to clean the bottles. We have to take care of this. It's easy to like just go from task to task. And then because once you have a baby in the world, I'm 5 weeks, 6 weeks postpartum. And I say postpartum because moms will relate to that. And so is Tasha for sure.
Yeah. It's funny. Tasha's kind of she argues like a spy in the sense that she'll monitor things that I've done wrong to the point where she then wants to bust me and then bring them all up. Yeah, she's a waiter.
That's how I do. I'm a waiter.
And I'm like, honey, you gotta tell me every moment. Because I sleep.
I would like to take a page out of her book. I mean, or your book. I would like to, and I told him that I'm like, we need to start communicating.
It's almost like a dog. Like if you let a dog do 10 bad things and then get mad at him, he doesn't associate the previous things you did. So for Tasha, I'm like, if something was going on that you were like, oh, Dave, I would have loved it if you offered to get me a water. Like, let me know. Don't let it boil over, because I'm not a natural waiter. Like my way of giving love might be affection and attention, not necessarily like, oh, let me go make some oatmeal for you. I just, there was one day where I was working and I made myself some breakfast, and she was like, Dave, I've been sitting breastfeeding. I can't get up. And I'm like, oh yeah, my bad. Like I don't know. I've never had a baby before. So I had to remember these things and just tell like, hey, I'm gonna sleep in. Like I'm gonna sleep heavier than she does. So don't get mad if the baby's crying and I don't get up to help. Like just nudge me, because I'm not like that. My brain doesn't work the same way.
And like, she might have this thing in her that's like, I can do it. Like I'm going to be here. But here's what happens. Like, so I'm at the point where I'm crashing. Like, so when you have this baby, you bring it home, you're so excited. It's like Christmas morning. And then what happens when you're postpartum, is you kind of crashed a little bit. You have this adrenaline, right? It's like getting a puppy. It's like, this is so exciting. I hate to refer it to that, but then it's like, oh wow. Like your adrenaline wears off and then you're like, I'm sleep deprived. I'm hungry. Like the newness kind of wears off, the adrenaline. It's like literally like a real thing. I've had it with all 3 kids, and I'm at that point now, and I'm in Vegas. So I'm like, oh, this is a lot for me. But I'm more of an introvert, surprisingly. I think Tasha and I can relate on that.
Totally.
You know, I need time to like recharge, and my husband knows that about me. He's like, I got the kids. I'm going to do the bath. Like, go watch a show. Whatever it is that you do for yourself. Like, I'll be like, I just need to go for a walk around the block by myself right now and listen to a song or a walkout song. But like, it's so important. But the newness kind of wears off, and you're like, you're not as energized naturally. And then you kind of get the baby blues. And like for me, I mean, everybody's different, but like it's honestly hormonal.
I was thinking the baby blues would come after about a week.
But dads get it too. I think Umberto has it. I think we're both crashing at the same time, truthfully.
It's kind of like the same hormones as buyer's remorse, which sounds bad, but it's like buyer's remorse is generally you buy something really nice and then you feel bad because the energy of the niceness wore off and now you got the bill. And with a baby, it's like you still love the baby, but no matter what, whether you have a baby or get married, like you're gonna resort back to your kind of base happy level, which mine is very high. You've got
high vibes.
Yeah, I got good vibes.
Like Caitlin Bristow says, you're on a high vibration, and like I love to surround myself like, and that's another thing. And like what you do, you're very empathic. Like you're dealing with this Clayton stuff, like, and I bet that's probably, if I had to read the room, probably a little bit hard for Tasha right now because it's so heavy. But like you're also like doing work, like this is work for you. And I will say that I do sense that from Umberto, and he's super supportive. And I'm like, it's like 10 o'clock and I'm like recording a podcast, and he's like in bed taking care of the baby. Like that's us. Yeah.
Well, you know, it's so funny because to break the fourth wall and talk about, the business of content creating, obviously Tasha doesn't have to work now. So that's taken away a lot of the other side.
And that's
nonsense.
Probably really hard for her too.
It's hard. It's interesting because I'm sure there's a level of work she would like to get back into, but it wasn't what she was doing wasn't fulfilling, and that was wildly draining. And her job used to be the big job, and she loved it because it was paying better. And then once that, like we said, wears off, it's kind of like, well, it's a thankless job. And as she got pregnant and didn't really, didn't know, it's a freelance job, so there's no send off. There's like, all right, bye. You're fired.
I felt that when I stopped modeling. We've talked about it before, and there's like a grieving process with that, because like I think that a lot of people have so much to their identity about like what they do, right? And like
how much of your identity growing up was looks? Did you feel hot when you were young? Did you feel?
I was dorky. I was like flat chested. I got teased. I had a unibrow. I got a job at Abercrombie for $5.25 an hour. I got lucky. But
they wouldn't have taken you if you weren't They book people on their look. It's a looks based.
But they like waxed my eyebrows. Like, we need to give this girl a bikini wax. Like
they gave you the old car wash special.
Yeah, like I mean, literally, it was a guy from the sky. Like I never thought I could model. I talked about it in my book. I was very teased, but I was a cheerleader. Like I was always nice to everybody. And when The Bachelor aired, people came out of the woodworks to like try to sell stories on me, and like randomly, like, oh, she was a bitch in high school or whatever it was. I'm sorry,
introverted people for sure get thought of as bitchy a lot of times because you might just be having a quiet moment.
Yes,
and if
I
they
need
see
quiet
you
moments.
Yeah, Tasha's the same way. It's like I'll be like, "What's wrong with you?" She'll be like, "I'm just sitting. I'm just sitting."
But I think that's like a beautiful thing about relationships, and like my husband knows that about me, and like I'm sure you know that about her, and I'm like, it's not you. But then it also can get a little tricky because I'm like, but we need to communicate, like I'll like nap when the kids are napping, and like he'll watch his sports in the living room, and I'm like, oh my god, we're passing ships in the night. That's what my thing was the other night. I'm like, we need to talk more, like we need to communicate. Like I'm finding myself falling into like a pattern of like that, and I think that with a new baby that can happen because you're tired, and it goes with everything, and there's so much joy in it. It's so fun. It's like everyone always, it's so cliche. All the cliche things that people say is true.
I think,
and there's a reason, like, but it's also like, I think you are a free thinker, and I love your take on everything, like how you did your own birth thing, and you were going to do hypnosis and all this stuff. Like you don't know until you're in it. Like you can try to prepare. So it's a story old as time, but like you don't know till you're really in it. And
I try my best to just go with, so Tasha took the lead with a lot of the sort of ideologies of what she wanted to do with birth. But I agreed with a lot of the fact that I think medicine has kind of gotten in the way of the human miracle in some ways. It's always good to have the hospital, but it's like they're ready to shine the UV light on and slap the baby because it gets the heart rate going. But it's like, well, maybe the baby wants to enter the world with.
That happened with Gabriel. He was quiet as a mouse, church mouse.
And they had to kind of wake him up.
Guess what? The doctor did. Like, they put him on me. Finally, they put him on me, and they were like, "Oh, he gulped in a lot of fluid when he came out because that just happens.
Yeah,
like you just don't know." Yes, and he got fluid, and then they're like. I'm like, can you give me my baby already? And I'm like, put him on me naturally. I'm like, I want to like, I was like, happy birthday. I say that to all my babies, like, happy birthday. Like we like play jazz music. Like that's our vibe, right? And the nurse came up to me and she's like, stop. I know you want to shush him. And she's like, we need him to cry. Like we need to, like, she goes, you have the rest of your life to do that. And I'm like, but it was like, this is a special moment for me, But like, I get it. Like you want him to cry, but like he came in peace. Like,
yeah,
he's like not crying. He's just that, and that's his vibe.
And it's so wild to think like literally stepping into this world, like going from inside the safe environment. And we when we delivered, and we already had a plan. Lights were dimmed. We did about as like gentle as you could. By the time we delivered, there was like 10 people in the room. Yes. And again, it didn't really matter. It was really, we recorded it all. So the audio,
I cried.
The sounds were just like you just hear people go.
I'm like, why didn't you do this for me?
You can just hear the sounds of love from everybody, and everyone's kind of like giving it in a different way, but it's all like, oh yeah, and then like there's this quiet 3 seconds, and then the baby's screaming. So when I made my vlog, I had this song, and I didn't. Sometimes you got to time the song up to the edit to make it all whatever. I put the song on, and the song kind of cuts out for a few seconds and then ramps back up at the same time the baby starts crying. And I didn't line it up, but sometimes I'm like, well, that's perfect. Like we're done with that. Like sometimes I'll spend all these hours editing something perfectly, and then sometimes it's just perfect. And I was like, oh my gosh, that was like that perfectly. I love
it. It's so serendipitous. You're like, this was meant to be.
Yeah, and you're almost letting the music speak for the room. Isn't it so fun
to watch back? Like,
yeah.
So whenever I get my epidurals, which is like very stressful, like you're putting a needle in my back, I was like, babe, get my phone. He knows. I was like, I need to look at pictures of the kids, just like. They have you like sit there and you can't move and you're contracting and you're like, oh, like, and I'm like, I just need to look at pictures of my kids. And that's what I love about social media is like, I treat it as like a scrapbook, because you're, especially once you have a kid. And do you feel this way? Like, do you feel like time is going a little bit faster?
Oh, well, I mean, on the quantum level, it is. Every year gets shorter because we get older. So every year is a smaller fraction, right? So 1 year when you're 10 years old is 10% of your life. 1 year now is 1/40th of your life, right? Yeah. So 1 year is 4 times faster than it was when you were 10. Do you know what I mean? Did I get heavy?
My mind is blown. Yeah, no.
But that's what it is. So time is getting faster, and it is stressful because it's like
you don't want to miss a moment. There's like a Justin Bieber song. It's like I don't want to blink because I'm going to miss too much.
I hear your 40s. I've been told your 30s are where you get good at something, and your 40s are where you make money at it. And I think
I love making money. We are bleeding money here in Vegas.
Yeah, literally these cab rides.
I'm like, can we walk to the Venetian?
Scooters.
I am tapped out. I'm paying for childcare. Like,
I'll get the cabs tonight. I'll get the cabs.
No, Dave.
No, but it's like you.
Are we on a super chat?
Yeah, I don't know. Please, somebody. No,
help me. I'm poor.
I'm not stressed necessarily, but I'm thinking. The best way I think I can help my family like right now, other than being there for the family, is to be like, okay, I need to money is the best way for financial security. If something goes wrong, money fixes it in a lot of ways, whether it be medical or whatever other issues out there. And I'm just like, all right, I'm just turned 39. What do I need to do in the next year so that when I'm in my 40s, I'm really firing and doing that? And that's kind of where I'm at. And I have to remind Tasha, it's like, I'm not trying to, and by all means, I'm working at home. I'm with the family all the time, but I'm like, I'm not choosing doing a podcast over you. I'm choosing the podcast because that allows me to not be at some other job working for somebody else.
For the man, yeah.
So I would have, I did not
Which
plan.
would break your soul.
I didn't plan it this way, but everything that's been set up and all the financial like freedom that's been set up because of all of these things that I've taken ownership over has worked perfectly into having a baby. I couldn't imagine a world where I have to be like, ask some boss if I can get some time off because it's my kid's dance recital. That would just be heartbreaking.
T-ball. You played baseball. Like when your son, we just did that with Joaquin and he starts playing T-ball, you're going to want to be at those games.
Yeah, of course.
And you're going to want to talk about those games. And that's super relatable. Like, and it's, to me, like, that's like the fabric of my life. Like, to me, my love language is my family. Like, it's everything to me. I will ride hard for them. And I just saw something recently that really touched me. I like deep conversations, but, I love that you talk about success and inspiring people to maybe do that thing and start it. Like, I didn't know if I could do a podcast. 2 years later, I just got my first host read ad and
woo,
I know.
A good one too.
And feel free to take it out. But like, I'm learning and I'm like, this feels good to me. I'm still doing real estate, but I saw something that was like, what is your definition of success? Like, what is that to you? And it was like they were talking about like success to me is having inner peace. And, a lot of people put a lot of focus on like being financial freedom. To me, I'm happier when I have money in my bank account.
Well, because the money provides you time, security, time. It provides you things.
But what if that all went away? Like what I would like flip the script on you. Like, what gives you inner peace? Like, what is like the thing that makes you the happiest?
Well, I think we talked a little bit about this the other day.
Sorry to get so deep on you all the time.
Please, I
just like, to me that like I don't like the superficial.
I love performing. Like I loved last night. I loved talking to different people.
Yeah.
I was just exhausted. Like I was coming off of like 1 hour sleep. So I love.
You were really working the room.
I couldn't believe.
Steve is our good friend, and like he was like tired, and
yeah,
it was a lot. Well, of fun.
Last year, some people knew me from Steve's event, but this year it was every corner. If I made like people were pulling, like there were boyfriends pulling me aside saying, hey, my table, if you could talk to my table next.
Well, and if you get really famous doing stand-up, which I know that like your goal is to, that wouldn't like feed your soul. Like,
well, fame. Okay. So like fame's whatever, like, whatever. But the idea being is just like being understood and recognized for your art. So one of the, the people that were bashing me, which I don't take any light, I don't take it heavily, but someone, one of the quickest ways to insult a creative is to insult their art, right? So
Absolutely.
If people want to say, oh, you ramble,
say something a little off color.
If someone says, oh, your podcast sucks, it's whatever, but then they go, oh, you're a failed comedian. Okay, now you're getting closer to home, because when you call someone a failure, it's like, well, I'm not done trying, like I'm still working towards it. It's just like, it's like if you ever watch Survivor. Have you ever watched Survivor? So they have this fire making challenge. Pursuing art is like a fire making challenge. You have to constantly be tending that fire or it goes quick.
Fanning those flames.
You have to constantly, and I look at it and I look at this last year and I go, well, we bought a home, we bought a car, we had a baby, we did all these great milestones. I have in some ways done a little bit less stand-up, but I've also made more money doing stand-up than I ever have this year. Beautiful. So I've done a little bit less. I've reallocated my time, but I'm also speaking into a microphone every day, an hour plus on the podcast. So
you're doing
it's just different.
Big things. And you've also been covering a case that like, extensively,
which isn't that much fun. You know what I mean? Like it's not that much fun.
Well, I'm sure Tasha's, it's a lot for her too. I think of her as well, but
I hate to give anybody any credit if their attempt is to like wound me,
disrupt your peace.
But Tasha absolutely feels like a large part of her pregnancy was robbed. And I
felt that way with COVID.
Yeah.
I had 2 pregnancies during COVID and nobody came to the hospital. We couldn't leave. I labored in masks, and I feel that way with COVID.
And there's no getting the time back.
Nobody talks about COVID. Like, I didn't have a baby shower. I didn't have but that's like just like, it's not apples to apples, but.
No, but I understand. It's like, well, it's not like a pity thing. It's like, well, Tasha would prefer if we didn't have such a dark topic we're covering with also the threats. Yeah, with the threats. I mean, she's afraid for her safety in some ways.
I wanted to ask you about that too. And obviously this is your show, so I'll let you
ask away.
Land the plane. But I was landing a plane with She's All Bachelor. We were recording. I was like, all right, this show's over. But how that it has to have affected her. And I feel like you have personally from an outsider looking in, and I consider you guys both friends, love you both, but you in some ways have the weight of the world on your shoulders. Like I said, so much has happened a year. Like you had to get an attorney. You had to learn, and you're covering this case.
We also lost some friends. I'm sure. We lost people that might either have not understood the stress of being put under those conditions.
Was that hard for you?
Oh yeah, that was the hardest part. The hardest part because I feel like I'm a big well, what did I do wrong? And then some people have said, well, you asked for it. I get victim blamed a lot, and I go, well, if that's the result of me.
Sound, holy mackerel.
Audio, these are good. We're near the airport. We got sirens going. It's
sorry, guys.
Yeah, we are in dangerous Vegas here. No, but it's complicated because yes, I did double down against a crazy person, in my opinion. Don't sue me again.
No, you flew she flew too close to the sun, and I love that saying. But you went hard, and I will say you have dogged persistence, and that's an athlete. You have it to make it. A lot of people would have bowed out. They would have shriveled themselves.
I'm not as an athlete. I was never the tallest, strongest, or I was always my football team or baseball. I was never the fastest. I just kind of as a kid growing up, my cousins were always bigger, faster, stronger, and I don't really quit. Sometimes you need to know when to quit. But with this case, it was so clear what the right thing to do was. Right. Are you kidding me? There's no I'm not patting myself on the back. It was obvious that was my bill to pay and no one else was coming to pay it. Steve was big and other people came in, but for a little bit there, I almost gave in.
You almost shriveled down, shrunk yourself, yeah.
And then Clayton probably would, and I'm assuming most people know what we're talking about, but covering this case that we've covered.
Which is coming up real soon.
Yeah, by the time people listen, we might not have the answers yet, but it should be packing itself up. But yeah, so I'm going to Phoenix to cover the case as a thing that has been a large part of the last year.
And like you said, you had this baby and Tasha feeling robbed, and
it's so wild.
That and it's so crazy, the parallels to you having a baby and a case surrounding. I'm sure you've thought about this, somebody who was faking a pregnancy.
Isn't it wild? And they didn't know we were pregnant. The first 3 months, no one knew we were pregnant.
I've had losses. I told you before, I had 2 miscarriages before I had Gabriel. And it struck so close to home for me. As somebody who was excited to have a baby again, I'm 40 now. I didn't know if it would happen for us. Thankfully, we have a healthy baby who's a week earlier than yours.
Crazy, right?
Like you said.
What's your birthday?
He's 4/28.
Oh my gosh, yeah, we're May 6th.
And he came early. It was a little bit stressful, but we'll talk about that another time.
We could have lined it up better. We could have gotten you and Tasha.
I want a Cinco de Mayo baby. I was like, ay. My husband's Latino.
Well, your baby's 4/28. I'm May 1st. My baby's May 6th, and Tasha's May 8th. So we'll just let's do some big birthday parties.
Hell yeah, we're coming out.
A Taurus birthday.
It's just I know we can mess with the bull, you get the horns, and I think that's a good way to wrap this case up. It's and I live in Arizona, so I haven't covered it, but I want to say I commend you and I'm proud of you for covering it because you've had so much happen in a year, and this has been, you always say, wild. I think that you should just promote a shirt that says wild. I always think that way, but you always say, it's just, what's another word for wild? It's mind blowing.
Adversity does teach you a little bit about yourself, and I just want to take advantage of what I've had to do to grow. I've had to really have faith in the people that believe what we're doing is right, and just dismiss those and then just dismiss the people that don't quite get it. There are a lot of people that
like you said, you've lost friends, and so much has happened.
And you know what's interesting? It's so not a political issue. It's just an issue of trying to do the right thing.
It's baby reindeer. and like, I am all about like justice for Clayton. You know, I've met Clayton, like, I'm not a massive fan. He's nice. I mean, truthfully, you know, I think you've done a lot for him. And I think like him going on other podcasts, like I wish I saw more support for you, but that's not what you're doing.
He has supported me a lot privately. He sent me a message because sometimes my audience will be like, dude, why aren't you? And
That's
I'm like,
not why you're doing it. But like for me as an outsider, and I'm sure other people, your listeners think that way as well. Maybe good to address.
People, listeners they're so great because they are just bulldogs. They are so supportive, sometimes too much. And I'm like, guys, calm down. Don't go after other people. Like, because Clayton and I have
business casual. We're not going to, this isn't like a wake.
And I'm no stranger to the fact that I'm
handled it very delicately.
I'm not like a truck driver who moonlights for free helping others. No, like this is my living. So it was just a scenario where I was able to monetize the absurdity in a way that it was like quicksand for her. This lady who has done this multiple times in the past, and she probably will sue me after this or try to. Like, it's her game plan to continue.
But how does that feel for you personally?
I've never felt better.
I'm a Cancer, so I live in my feelings, and I'm like, I would be like really stressed. Like,
when her lawyer,
I'm a control freak, so I'm like, who's driving? How are we going to get there? Are there going to be snaps?
So there's different parts of the brain I've had to learn. The part that really frightens you really makes it hard to think rationally because you're in fight or flight. When her lawyer emailed me the morning of the baby shower and essentially saying, I'm not threatening you, you'll know when I'm threatening you, was threatening me by saying,
so bad on the attorneys, like, why?
Yeah, I just think he was hired to bully me and others to try to just be a thug. I think he was hired to be a thug, and I think when you just learn, and the best advice I could give for anyone who is ever feeling bullied or intimidated is just find some people to talk to, because you realize that the only way that bullying works is when you're silenced and you don't share it. So the fact that I was sharing with others what was going on, I had so many lawyers and people get back to me and give me probably hundreds of thousands of dollars of free advice just to say, Dave, you're doing the right thing. And since then, we uncovered all of the evidence that proved me right. So I don't have to even defend myself in a defamation suit. I've already done that to the point where I doubt they would sue me for defamation because I've already got all the answers. I am right. I've said it all truthfully. I've never pitched such a perfect game in this scenario where we've been right every step of the way.
But the legal system is such a bitch to tackle, and it's like, how much do you want to be tied up in that?
Well, but I'm just lucky that I've built a platform that is the best defense, because you can't privately bully me. So if my audience sees something going down, they're there to support me. They've been wild. I've got eyeballs everywhere that have helped me out. So
I'm all about doing the right thing, and I think that, like, to simplify it, like, or to dumb it down, which not that we need to, but like, you're doing the right thing, and like, that's who I am to a core, is like, do the right thing.
It's like when you tell the truth.
I lost friends from the show. Like, people saw me on the show, like best friends. Like, when my show aired, and
why did they ditch you? Because of your edit?
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, bye. And that's a tough pill to swallow, but not to make it about me, but like, you're doing the right thing. And like, if that's ingrained in you to always do the right thing, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But not a lot of people would have, like, it's a lot of weight on your shoulders.
Well, from a content, like, creating standpoint, there are people that make their living not giving their opinion. Like, if you're a data-based, like, if you're just giving stats, if you're the weatherman just telling the weather, you're not going to have haters. But when you give your opinion on things, people either really like you or really hate you. But what I've learned is you have to dismiss the haters, because those people that like you, those people that showed up to Reality Steve's party, those people drive you for the rest of your professional life.
I heard so many touching stories last night, Dave, of people that I met last year that I was like, yeah, this is why I almost gave up on the podcast recently. I'm not making a ton of money and I love doing it, but I'm like, I got to keep pushing, and thank you for your help and advice along the way. But I'm like, I love this. It feels good to me. I heard people tell me stories like, you inspired me And I love, like, it was nice to get some positive feedback.
Oh,
I'm like, don't gas me up, like, tell me what I'm doing wrong so I can get better, right?
Well, there's always some truth in a bad review when it comes to.
I don't look at reviews.
Well, but like, if I've talked over guests, I've probably talked over you. I'm an active conversationalist, and sometimes that doesn't play well if I get too excited. The same thing can happen in stand-up if I bring too much energy to the room. You got to start the song at a normal level and a crescendo, and you bring it away. Like there is an art to all of it, and with podcasting, it can take a while to understand how to get what's going on in your brain through your mouth in a way. And that's kind of like the Clayton story. I've covered this story so much that when I do go on a rant, I kind of know where I'm going beforehand. Right. So it might look like a chaotic fire, but I'm building up to something because
I'm classic. I live for it. And everybody last night was like speaking your praise, and they're like, are you going to, like, there's people going that were there last night to the trial.
Wild.
Yes. And they were like, they're like, what do you think about it? I'm like, I listen to all of your podcasts. I'm almost like addicted. Like, I actually had to tap out for a little bit because I'm like, what's the latest? Because it is so wild. If you like seek the truth and seek justice, like, you took on a lot. And that's what I would say as a friend to you. And with having a new baby, and we were talking about like, what's next for you? And like, you were like, you really want to like do more stand up. Like, yeah,
I don't know. And I'm still, obviously I took a natural break with the baby, and my first stand-up show back after the baby was a rehab facility in Tennessee, and I performed in front of a couple hundred addicts. And it was interesting because, the comic before me performed as an addict and got on stage and was like, I'm so-and-so, I'm 12 months, just did the 12-step thing. And then I went on stage and I go, hi, my name's Dave Neal. My mom's an alcoholic. And it didn't get a laugh. And I was like, oh, I'm about to bomb. And then I had a good set. But I was like, I didn't think they got, like, I was kidding. I was like, I was kind of like, I threw my mom under the bus instead of being brave. But I was like, how poetic that my first kind of setback was at a place where this audience was like so appreciative of our stand-up, and people were like, oh, how great of you to perform it. I was like, no, it paid well. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't going there for any reason other than I was like, all right, it's a paycheck, I'll go. But I was like, wow, I needed this moment. Yes. I needed this moment because sometimes in stand-up, and like anything we do with art or anything creative, you almost get a little too close to the paintbrush. Yes. You're like not seeing the thing that makes you special. And sometimes I just got to step away. And then now with a baby, kind of going, all right, how do I take what my baby becomes as a little boy and a man, and how do I encourage him to be the special goofball he'll be, and remind myself to be that way, because my whole adult life is trying to get back to I feel like a child's dance that I kind of robbed myself of. I wasn't like a goofy kid on the outside, and that's what I want to get back to. And I think a lot of adults are that way. And a lot of people don't get there till they're like in their 70s or even their deathbed, where you see some old man dancing in the street and you go, that guy wanted to dance his whole life, didn't he? And we're lucky enough that we can do that now. Like, we don't, nothing's holding us back. But the idea that
another question is, like, people say, like, on your deathbed, like, and not to get too heavy, but it's like, you're not going to be like, I wish I worked harder. Like, you're going to think of, like, let's say you have 60 seconds to do your life in a flashback. Yeah. It's going to be like the moments with your family, the dancing with your kids. And that, I live in my feels, you guys, but also there is a lot of like reward in like helping other people.
Sure.
And like bringing joy and light into the world, but it's also a tough road to hoe in the world that we live in.
Yeah. Well, I think what's hard,
and doing the right thing.
I think what's hard with your creative, like, sort of child and in embracing that is you don't always make money doing it, and money's not important other than it buys the time, like we said,
and financial freedom.
So
which makes you more joyful. I got to tell you, like, I'm a little bit stressed about money right now, and I'm a little bit crappier. Like, and I'm like, but it makes me like, I gotta kick it my ass into gear.
So your podcast is like a muffin shop. You open up, you have these muffins, but on any given day, your podcast can take off. Yeah. Due to the internet, the way the internet works, for whatever reason,
I haven't beat the algorithm yet.
No, but like, it's there. So like, I want
to help people. I have the same like drive as you. Like, I don't want to put shit out. Like, I want to like do something that feels good to my soul. Like, I love covering the Bachelor stuff, but I'm also like, I kind of want to talk about deeper conversations and
Sure.
motherhood and the reality of parenting, because it is really hard, and postpartum and these things, and just navigating the world that we live in. But
You're doing it. But like you know, I can tell you from all the months I didn't make a penny, you're doing way better than the first 6 years I did it.
Trying to be consistent.
I had one ad deal, and I had a podcast for 6 years, and I had one ad deal, and it was for a boner spray. It was a company that would spray this numbing cream on your dick. And it would like help you.
They do that when you get waxed. When you go get a.
Yeah, I used to have a bit. I did a bit about it. I was like, if I learned a lot about myself. If you send me boner numbing spray, I will use it. Tasha's like, don't ever use that.
Is that for the wankers out there? Or what?
It's for a longer. It's to delay. For those that. So, but it was $1,000, and it was the only one. So I spent, I don't know, $5 or $6 grand just in hosting fees, to make 1,000. And now things are going really well. But my point is that muffin shop, you keep tweaking it till you have that perfect muffin. What a weird analogy.
No,
and then you're going to have
it.
the only one, and you'll be the only one that sells that muffin.
Or scones.
Scones. There you go. Courtney Scones. But if you try to be someone else's scone, you'll never be as good as someone else's thing. And you just have to figure out.
I've muted so many people because I'm like, I think it's like comparison it's cliche, but the thief of joy. I know you don't edit, but sorry, it's easy for me to say.
And sometimes
I've been in Vegas all day.
And sometimes comparison can be helpful if you go, oh shit, that person looks real tight. Let's see what camera they're using. And
that's what I love about being friends with you. I mean, not podcast related, but like I love to surround myself with like-minded people. Like, I don't want to hang out with the Jane Doe. I don't want to hang out with low vibes. I want to elevate. And I've always been good at doing that. And I would say anybody who wants to succeed, like, drop the drama. Like, don't plug into it, which we talked about. Like,
someone like her tries to steal energy from other people.
She's an energy vampire.
And you have to realize, not you, but I think we all have to realize that has to come from within.
And that comes from, like, anybody listening. Like, it could be a family member. It could be somebody that, like, it's across the board, right? Like, just surround your time is so valuable. Like, do not let that enter your orbit.
Yeah, like an energy vampire.
Boundaries.
An energy vampire, you give them permission to take your energy.
Yeah. And Tasha probably feels that way too, because she's an introvert too.
Yeah. Someone tried to cut us off when we were like crossing the street, and the lady was like, she made this face, like she did this thing. Tasha got so mad. I was like, don't get mad, honey. That's her own issue happening.
Yeah.
It's not us. And that's like a 4 agreements. Don't take things personally, because
I love that,
why am I going to mess my day up based on what someone else is going through? And like, if you give them the keys to your emotions, and that's why to be quite honest, a lot of the vitriol and hate that I've gotten from this small group of literal people that in this Jane Doe camp, which is literally her mom, her lawyer, literally that's it. It's like it doesn't even those arrows she's firing at me don't even come close to hitting, because I see that shit from a mile away. Like, I'm impenetrable based on anything.
You looked at the camera recently, because I'm in the Patreon, and you looked at the camera and you're like, my happiness is like, I'm impenetrable. Like, you basically said that to the camera, and I was like, I hope she's watching that. Yeah. Because I don't get, like,
and it might not get through to her, but it doesn't matter, because that's for me and my people to know.
Yeah.
And
I saw it, and I heard it loud and clear, and I saw you look at the camera, which you normally don't. But so is mine. So are my people, and I ride hard for my people. Like I've said, I'm a little scared of her because I live in Arizona. Yeah. But my husband's also an attorney, and we might come to the, I don't know when you're going to air this, but we might come through, but like,
come for a scone.
You're in good. And the legal system, I will say, is stressful. You just had a new baby, but going back to your messaging, which I love so much about your podcast, is like, look how much can happen in a year. And
wild, right?
Wild.
And I like to share that. Where's
my seatbelt?
Well, click, click. Some people feel that it's like braggadocious, but I try to do it. I try to just show it as like a sort of a test run, to be like, look, I didn't get this from 1 million followers. I have a niche, small crowd, but like they're loyal and they're good people. We got to go to dinner, right?
It's 7:45. All
right, we have to head to dinner. We're going to dinner with Reality Steve. Let's promote your podcast. Let's get you some clicks. So you might have me on soon.
I would love to talk to you about Parenthood. Can you give me one funny story about Parenthood for your listeners? I feel like I need more baby content. Like,
We had a fun.
You told me something about taking the baby for a walk because I was telling you like I spilled the other day.
I spilled coffee on the baby. No, it wasn't
That's
hot.
like
It wasn't
my
hot.
biggest fear. I'm like feeding the baby in the morning and like I'm having coffee. It's like people talk about like falling down the stairs and these intrusive thoughts, but I would love just like one funny.
Right now or for your podcast?
Well, for mine.
All right, good. So I'll tell the story about spilling coffee on the baby. So for those that are listening to this, go over to Courtney's and check your podcast out. Let everyone know.
I want to talk to you about Parenthood and
let everyone know where they can find it. Like, what's the preferred?
I'm After Reality with Courtney Robertson. You can find it wherever you get your podcasts. I'm at Bug Robertson at Instagram. I don't do the TikTok. I was hanging out with She's All Bash all day. I learned a lot about TikTok.
You can't do it all. You can't do it all.
No, you guys, I just, my cup runneth over. I'm in Vegas, mom's in the wild. So thanks for listening and supporting Dave because he's just the salt of the earth.
Oh, you're the best. Let's go get some breadsticks. All right, bye everybody.
Adios.
Support Courtney. We'll see you later.
Yeah.
Oh, was that good? Oh, look at that. Wow, we did go long.